Hello, my name is Jacqueline Pollauf, and today I wanted to share a quick practicing tip about playing with a flat thumb, also called playing étouffée. And I'm just going to give a quick overview of what this is, and then demonstrate how to go about playing that way and share a couple of simple exercises. So the flat thumb is a technique specifically for the left hand, not the right hand, and it's where you play with the thumb in a vertical position like this. And this is great because it changes the sound a bit in just coming off the strings that way. And also at the same time, with the whole hand being vertical like this, the fingers and the palm can really muffle the lower strings as you're playing along. So if we compare that to, say, just playing with the second finger, or playing with more of a scale fingering, the sound with the flat thumb, the sound tends to be clearer because you're really hearing each string individually and not all of the resonance blending together. So this is especially useful in pieces where maybe there's a lot going on in the bass and you want to try to keep the sound a little bit cleaner, or have the bass line be just a little bit more prominent than it might be with a different fingering. And sometimes composers request this technique specifically, and sometimes it's something that the harpist might choose to add. So to play this way, it's a little bit of an unusual hand position. Rather than our typical hand position, what we do is we flip the whole hand up vertically, and the thumb is nice and vertical in line with the strings. And then the fingers and the palm are resting on the strings. They're actually touching the strings below it. And then as you play the thumb and come off with that, the whole hand kind of comes off at the same time. So there's a bit of almost like a waving motion as you're playing along. And for many people, this feels quite awkward at first. It's hard to have the hand come off and everything be right in line. So it can be useful just to practice that motion quite a bit, maybe for several days in a row, until it starts to feel a little bit more natural. You can also really think about muffling, whether you're muffling the string that you just played clearly. You can watch for it to stop vibrating as you move up and look for that. You can also change the way you muffle. So sometimes you might want to make it very abrupt. Sometimes you can use that in a piece with a bit of more of a jazzy sound, or sometimes you want it to be really just sort of like the sound vanishes with the muffle and you don't really hear the moment when it stops. Instead, it just disappears. So these can all be little different variations to put in there, or ways just to check and see how the control of your hand and the technique is overall. So once the technique feels somewhat comfortable, I think it's great just to practice scales like I was just doing, where you're coming up the strings. And then of course you could also decenter your scales, which might be a little bit different in terms of the muffling, especially if you want to muffle the string that you just played. You can use a little bit more of your thumb there to do so. And after that, it can be great to just have a little bit of a skipping pattern, or a pattern of thirds on the strings, where you're going up and coming back down. Because again, that just changes a little bit how you're coming in and what you're muffling. And you could do that in reverse as well. So I hope all of this has provided just a quick overview about playing with a flat thumb and given you some practice ideas.